Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to go over a set of lights from a company that's not real well known as far as I know of, but if they continue doing the things that they're doing, I think they're going to be pretty big in the market. So if you don't already know or you didn't read the title, the company is called Goonbeam. And what we have here on the table is two of the three long gun weapon lights that they offer. The V1 and the V2. V1 is referred to as more Candela. V2 is referred to as more Lumen. So these will be compared against the HLX, Streamlight Protac HLX. And this, in my opinion, is the gold standard when it comes to long gun weapon mounted lights because of what they offer, performance to price point. And these are very well proven. They've been around for a very long time at this point. And let's jump right into it. So as far as the specs go, now this is a handheld version, or the handheld variant. There's two, handheld and the weapon mounted. I'll give you the weapon mounted specs first, and then we'll talk about the handheld specs and what the differences are. So for the HLX weapon mounted, it's 1000 lumens at 27,600 Candela. It does come with a momentary and constant cap, tail cap. With that tail cap, it offers an IPX7 waterproof rating. It does come with a pressure pad, a remote pressure pad, and that will drop the waterproof rating down to IPX4, which is water resistant. It is dual fuel compatible, so you can run two CR123As or an 18650. Streamlight does offer their own version of the 18650, which is the SL-B26. The overall length is 5.43 inches. Weight is 6.40 ounces. Has a runtime of 1.25 at its highest setting and 23 hours at its lowest setting, which I believe low is 300 lumens. But I could be wrong. I'll annotate it in the video. And the price point on these is $120. They are very good for the price point. They offer a lot of bang for the buck. They've been used by countless departments, and even in the military, guys have used these, had awesome experiences with these. The one thing that you will have to keep in account with these Streamlights is under recoil, when firing, they will flicker a bit. And the reason being is because in the back here, there's the spring on the tail cap, but there's no spring up here to keep positive contact on either side of the battery. This can be circumvented by installing an O-ring in the back here, which keeps positive forward pressure, so that under recoil it does not flicker. Most people don't even notice this, but when you do, you can't unsee it, and it's a quick fix. They're a couple dollars at your local hardware store or automotive store. I'll annotate the size of the O-ring in the video for you guys if you already have a Streamlight and want to pick one up. So that's the specs for the Streamlight, for the weapon mounted HLX. For the handheld, it's all the same, except the Candela rating is 27,100, not 27,600, and the waterproof rating is IP68, which is dust and waterproof. So these are very, very, very good lights. I went this route because I had a mount already laying on the side, and I like this mount and where it puts it in relationship to the rail. So, which this one is in Odin Works. If it wants to, this might, come on, there you go, Odin Works mount. So, moving on. Here we have the V1 and the V2. And before I continue, I just want to let you know, I didn't get a whole lot of time with this on live fire. So the V1 was mounted for a little bit, and there were some rounds down range with that, but there wasn't a whole lot. So the torture testing is not there, but you'll see why I don't think that really matters so much in terms of these lights. So starting with the V1, let's push this out of our way here. Comes with all the same stuff that the HLX comes with, except comes with a charging base for the battery. I don't even think that zoomed in, did it? There we go. And then, you know, the charging cable to mount it. You can plug it into any brick. It does come with a pressure pad and the mount that comes on it. And as you can tell here, looking at this light, it's identical to the HLX. Maybe a little bit different coating, but that's about it. And the knurling is a little bit different. But aside from that, this is basically a carbon copy of the Streamlight. So let's rattle out some of these specs here. So for the V1, which they refer to as more Candela, it's a 700 lumen light pushing 75,000 Candela, or 75,000 plus Candela as they state on the website. The tail cap is momentary and constant. IPX7 waterproof rating with that tail cap. If you put the pressure pad on, it drops it down to IPX5 waterproof rating. Dual fuel compatible, so CR123As or 18650s. It does come with an 18650. As I mentioned already, it comes with the USB charger, or the charger for the 18650. The overall length is 5.4 inches. Weight is 6.30 ounces. Runtime is high at 1.5 hours. Continuous runtime. They do include the O-ring, so I'll show you here, so you know what I was talking about earlier. So there's that O-ring in there. You just put it right here. Fits perfectly inside the body and provides positive pressure going forward so that there's no flickering on the recoil. The price point of these are $129. Very, very nice light. What they offer at the price point is really, really cool. Let me show you the V2, which comes with the same exact stuff as the V1 and the Streamlight. So you have the pressure pad, you got all your mounting options here, a base to charging base for your battery, wire, and then the light. And here's the light for the V2. So the V2 is referred to as more lumen. So the specs on this are 1400 lumen, 55,000 plus Candela. So it's a lot less than the V1. However, you are getting double the raw power at 1400 lumen. Tail cap is the same, momentary constant arm, same waterproof rating at IPX7. Same thing with the pressure pad. It comes with it, and if you install it, drops it down to IPX5 waterproof rating. It is dual fuel compatible. So we'll take 2 CR123As or one 18650 as the other version will, and the Streamlight. Overall length is 5.4 inches. Ounces are the same at 6.30 ounces. Same runtime at 1.5 hours on high. This one they say that they use a new LED, but don't specify what it is. It does include the O-ring, which I already showed you on this one. I'm not going to do it on this one. And the price point is the same, $129. So they do offer a third one, which is IR only, same price point, but I don't have that on hand. And that would be a completely different analysis for that one. But very good. Very, very good lights. Again, I've had this one mounted. As you can see, I have a different mount. It does use Scout mount type of mounting system, so it is compatible. Or you can just leave it with the pick rail mount that it comes with, which is pretty proven at this point. At this point, let's go ahead and shift gears and head to the field, and we can go over the light output itself and talk a little bit about that when we'll come back to the bench. All right, everybody. So we are now at my local park. It's after 10 p.m. so there's nobody here. There's very little light coverage. I'll show you my surroundings. So you got not a whole lot to the left. Basically a couple incandescent bulbs outside of buildings, and then to the right you have some street lights that are over the basketball and tennis courts. So let's get back over here. I'll make the adjustment once the lights are on. So as I already have gone through all the specs and stuff like that of the Streamlight HLX, this one is the handheld, not the weapon mounted light, but again, as I mentioned earlier, it's very close to it. Same lumen output. Candela is only a 500 Candela difference between the mounted and the handheld being 500 Candela less, so 27,500 for the weapon light, 27,000 for the handheld, or it's 27,600 and 27,100, something like that. But you guys already know this. And then I'll have the Goonbeam version 1 or V1, which is the long, and then the Goonbeam version 2, which is the more lumens. So where I'm at right now, I'm standing right underneath the goalpost at the local field, and in front of us is the other goalpost. So from goalpost to goalpost is 120 yards, and then there's a tree line that is approximately 60 yards behind that. So let's go ahead and get into this. So here is the Streamlight HLX handheld that I have mounted to one of my rifles. So, oh, sorry, there we go. So as you can see, you can pick up the goalpost very well. If somebody was walking across with you know, any type of gear or maybe a rifle slung, you'd be able to pick that up. Maybe not some of the finer details, but you'd definitely be able to see enough to make a decision and say, hey, this guy is a potential threat, he's carrying a weapon, so on and so forth. Beyond that, there's the tree line. It's not coming up on the camera, but to the naked eye, I can definitely see some details in the tree, especially the lighter trees that are bouncing or refracting the light back at me. And I can see that there's a tree line and that it starts to kind of V backwards and extend in further. But as you can see, I pointed that here, it's got a pretty good hot spot. It's not super defined, but it's a good hot spot. And then the spill is pretty wide and generous, but it tends to fade out on the edges a lot more than it's showing on the camera. So let's turn this on and move over to the V1. All right, so here is the Goonbeam version 1, and this is the long throw, the one that's all throw, 700 lumens and 70,000 Candela or something like that. So here we go. So definitely see the goalpost real well, real tight hot spot, about as wide as the goalpost itself, and then beyond that is some tree line, and I can definitely see the tree line way better in much more detail than I could with the Streamlight HLX. And it's actually coming out really well on the camera, so that's translating nicely. Really nice. If you look down here, you'll see very tight hot spot, very discernible. It has a nice edge around the hot spot with quite a bit of spill. But where this one lacks is the fact that it's raw power. The 700 lumens doesn't really translate well to the spill. So out down at 120 yards and beyond, that spill isn't really helping. You may pick up some shadowy figures out towards the inside of the spill, but that's about as far as that's going to get you. But if you're using this as a spotlight, it's going to work very well. Pretty impressive. And as it states on the website, that the center may look offset when you're looking at like a white wall up close. You do not see that out here in the field whatsoever. So very nice light. All right, let's turn this one off, and then we'll move over to the V2. So this one is the version 2. It's got more lumens at 1400 lumens, if I remember correctly. We would have went over this already, so you know. And then it's neutered a little bit on the Candela, but still upward of 50,000 lumens. So, or Candela. So here we go. Didn't mean that. So here we go. So definitely see the goalpost really nicely. The hotspot's a lot wider at that distance, so you can see a lot more of the surrounding area of whatever you're shining this at. And the spill is pretty nice, going to the left and right of it. So the tree line, I can see the tree line in the background, and it's coming up on the camera as well. However, it's definitely not going to be as visible as the V1 because it's not pushing all that power down range. I think this is another one that is kind of like the V1, very nice, but maybe not implemented as well as I'd like to see. However, it is definitely a really nice light. Again, just like the other Goonbeam, it's got a very nice hotspot, very defined, and then you have a hard edge to the spill, and there's quite a bit of spill because you got a lot more raw power with that 1400 lumen window. So really nice output, especially for the dollar that you're spending. So let's go ahead and head back to the bench, and we'll wrap this up. All right, so we are back from the field, and as you can see, there's quite a bit of difference between all three of them. I would say this one and the Streamlight HLX, so the V2 and the HLX, are pretty close in comparison when it comes to performance until you get out to distance. And once you're out past that 120 yard line, you get to pick up a lot more with a better field of view in terms of the spill and the wider hotspot. So the addition of extra lumens for the raw power does translate downfield in terms of the spill and the hotspot, and it just being overall brighter. So V2 is really good. The V1, not as bright in the spill, but the hotspot is very tight, very concentrated, and you can see how that tight hotspot and throw allows you to see a lot more out there, and you were able to pick up quite a bit of information in the tree line, which was an additional 60 yards beyond the goalpost. So you're talking about 180 yards downfield, and you're seeing a lot more information with less lumen but more Candela than you are with the more lumen but less Candela. So couple notes that I have here in terms of the V1. So like I stated, it's noticeably dimmer than the HLX, but has a more defined hotspot, and the flood area, the outer portion of the flood area, is more defined than the HLX, where the HLX just kind of bleeds into the darkness. This one has more of a harder line to notice for the spill or the flood. Hotspot's clearly more usable out to distance, as we've seen in the video here, or in the portion that we were at the field. up close, as they state in the web or on the website, that the center, it'll look off centered. However, out in the field at practical use, you do not notice that whatsoever. So that is fine by me. That's not something that, if you're really using this in a real world scenario, you're ever even going to notice, because you're going to be really focused on what's going on, and you know, having that situational awareness and all that. So that's the last thing that's going to be on your mind. One thing I noticed from these two to the HLX is that the tail cap, the stippling on the tail cap and on the scope body, or on the light housing, the stippling is a lot more aggressive. This one is more subdued, but still grabs, whereas this one, like, you know, it's, now let's see if I can get that in. Like, it's very, very nice, like a nice sandpaper, maybe like 120 grit sandpaper. Going to the V2, definitely brighter than the HLX, and that shows up on camera. Wider, more defined hotspot, which allows you to see more peripheral around the target that you're looking at. Flood area is larger as well, with that defined outer edge, which I think is very nice. Allows that additional raw power to be more usable, to see if you have any figures walking left and right behind there. So that's really nice, and that's pretty much it. So where do these fit for me, and what do I think is where they fit? This one fits more for outdoor use, in my opinion. While it's not as bright, that throw is going to allow you to see further at distance, which is going to be more so beneficial in an outdoor scenario than it is going to be an indoor, in my personal opinion. As far as the V2, I think that this is going to be really nice indoors. While it can be used outdoors, and it's going to work out just fine to 100 yards and maybe just a little bit past 100 yards to that 120, 130 yard line, this will live really well on something that's dedicated more so for indoors. And the reason why I say that is because it has a wider hotspot, so all that extra lumen is going to illuminate a wider area in your initial hotspot, as well as that spill being a lot more usable than, say, the V1. That's going to illuminate your area or the room better, so you can see using your own peripheral vision. However, I don't think you're wrong going either which way with these. This is just my personal opinion. The one thing that I'll say is a downside for me is the pressure pad. Comparing these to the Streamlight, these feel a lot cheaper. Maybe they're not, they just feel cheaper and don't inspire a lot of confidence, but I think that time will tell, and it's just a matter of using it. I typically don't use pressure pads, that's just me, but if you do use a pressure pad, you may want to just pick one up off of Streamlight and use theirs, because I think theirs is a little bit more robust. It feels better constructed, and the buttons here, they don't feel cheap. These feel cheap, and I think that's where the biggest downfall is. I think if they want to hit a home run, bring this one up to 1,000, maybe 1,200, and keep that same Candela rating. Maybe bump it up to $150, and this will be a grand slam every freaking time. There'd be no reason to really go with any other light company, because you're getting everything you need. You know, like I saw Cloud just came out with their whatever light version 3, and it's off the charts in terms of specs. But as civilians, do you really need that? Is that a need or a want for you? Maybe that is a need in terms of duty use, but in terms of practical civilian use, this is going to be more than enough. Even this one at 26,000 Candela with 1,000 lumens, this is still going to be more than enough. So it's just a matter of weighing your options. These are my opinions, and this is just maybe a tiny little data point for you guys to use going forward. But I think that this is a really good company so far. I'm really excited to keep running these. This is going to go on a new, not a new build, but it's going to go on a new gun for this one today. This one will go back on my 12.5. And I'll keep toying around with this IR filter and see if I can make something out of that. But yeah, here we go. This is Goonbeam. Goonbeam's offering for long guns. So let me know what you think down in the comments below. If you already have some of these products, let me know what your experience has been. If not, has this been helpful? My videos help at all? Or are they just purely entertainment? Whatever you want, throw them down in the comment section below. You guys know that I love going back and forth with you guys and having those conversations. So yeah, leave your comments below. Check this company out if you're interested in a Goonbeam. And no, they do not know that I'm doing this video, nor did I reach out to them about the video. This I purchased with my own money. These are my own thoughts, and there it is. I will catch you guys in the next video.